Gardner, one of the most eclectic writers and aggregators of interesting information working on the Internet, kind enough to send a lot of material over to Rense for your edification. He is an expatriate. He no longer formally lives here in these formerly United States. He lives down south. And he has been back now for a couple of weeks visiting with family and friends. And I thought it would be fun to catch him here and get his feelings and his observations and the impact of what has happened since he left. Welcome back to the program, Zen. How long has it been since you've been gone?
Close to 2 years now.
All right.
It's a total of 12 years I've lived in Latin America, but I hadn't been back there for about 15 or 18 years.
Yeah. The stories just get to be more and more ludicrous. I can't resist this one. I just saw it. The new Speaker of the House, the re-elected John Boehner, claims, sit down for this, folks, he is the most anti-establishment Speaker of the House in American history.
And donkeys fly.
They do. The lies are so preposterous now, and they're nonstop. So I don't want to steal your thunder, but tell me what you noticed first when you got back, what kind of things you started to see, and where you are now after these several weeks.
Well, real quick, along the lines of what you just said, look at these world leaders speaking up for free speech following the Paris incident. You know, as if that's what they stand for. It's just emotional appeal. It's such unbelievable BS. It's just Orwellian newspeak.
It's beyond
steroids.
Orwell. It's post-Orwellian. It really is. I mean, they'll say whatever they think they need to say at whatever moment in their lives they're in front of a camera or a microphone. They don't give a good gosh darn about any of it.
No, truth be damned. Let it fly, and people just sit there and listen. Their minds are so mushed up.
They stare and they watch, and I have had more than one person tell me that when they listen to Obama speak for 15, 20 minutes, they couldn't tell you after 5 minutes what he was talking about.
Absolutely. Which is the desired result. They don't want anybody thinking coherently.
No, and there's a lot less of that out there.
It's a shocker.
Why think coherent thoughts when you can have the thinking done for you, stare at it, watch it, listen to it, and then walk around, and if you're lucky, remain in possession of one or two mentally recorded sentences that make you think you feel intelligent or otherwise informed when you're asked about it. It's ludicrous, and it's so sad because the younger generation is even less interested. Now that's not to knock you younger people listening. You know who you are, and you are the only hope this country has. But it's going to go all the way down and out the other side. I don't know where that is or when it's going to happen. And you folks who are alive, who are still thinking, who haven't had your independence, individuality, and proactivity completely drained from you, are going to have to rise to the challenge. So don't give up. I know your friends and your peers are pretty ugly to be around. They're pretty empty. But you guard your intellect and you take care of it.
Right on. That sort of segues into my reaction about being here, because I'm constantly evaluating, like you. I'm looking at people and trying to understand how they can keep on in their humdrum existence with so many things as blatantly not, wrong, off the charts. And it appears to me, and I've thought about this a lot since being here, people can sense at some level. Everybody can sense, there's the fundamental truth and untruths of society, but they cannot afford to tune into it because it's so overwhelmingly wrong and wicked and misdirected and so such an illusion. Should they tune into it and realize it, their life would be rocked off their foundations, the house would crumble, and they'd have to flee into a whole new existence. That's why I'm in a suburb of Seattle where Boeing is king.
Yeah.
The roads are perfect. The parks are immaculate. Everybody drives a new car. I mean, that's one of the biggest shocks. Just the standard of living here is just insane when I've been living in the third world.
So the infrastructure in Seattle appears to be holding.
Yeah, well, I'm in a sort of northern suburb. It's I haven't been downtown. The kids have been downtown a few times, but I've been there before. But yeah, this area is infused. It's got a flush of money because Boeing is obviously churning out their drones and war machine machines.
Never-ending demand.
They're all high on affluence, and the Seahawks are apparently doing well, and everybody's all jacked up. I mean, the superficiality is remarkable. I think I remarked to you in a couple of our emails. We were chatting back and forth. One of the things that struck me here is the women. The women are cold. They're very intelligent. They're very sweet. Everybody's socially perfect, which kind of led me to a new term. Instead of political correctness, it's social correctness is what's gripped this place.
Social correctness. Well, if they're sweet, it's a cold sweetness.
It is. I mean, in Latin America, the women exude a sort of a natural sexuality. It is not lewd. It has nothing to do with MTV or anything. I mean, they have their issues. They try to mimic the West, but
they don't stick their tongues out like Miley Cyrus.
Right. But they're just not. They walk naturally. They have rhythm. They smile. They hug and kiss each other when they meet each other. It's not all. They have their upper class and the tightly bundled looking women, but here they're all like in suits and sort of very tightly packaged, cold, muscular. Very self-centered and sort of pouty. There's sort of a look at me. It's not obvious because there's a lot of seemingly very nice people, but they're part of this veneer that it's so creepy.
Uh-huh.
It's a really strange feeling. I mean, even physically, since I got here, I've had these terrible allergies and all kinds of stuff running out of my head and strange feelings in my body, which leads me to. I've found some wonderfully awake alternative type people, and my son's quite active in a lot of different groups here. And I've met a bunch of his friends, and we've talked extensively about just about any subject. But none of them, to a person, they were not aware of the degree of radiation that they're getting bombarded with. And one person said, my head's been in the sand about this. I have not wanted to think about it because I know it means I may need to get myself out of here. And almost everybody I've spoken to who's become aware of what's going on and, awakened up to the bigger picture, they feel a pull to get out of here. But they all sort of go, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And they feel they're stuck. And I'm not saying everybody's got to get out, but what it is doing to people is it's driving them to form local communities, they're getting together, which is, I think, a wonderful byproduct of this awakening that's happening. But they're banding together. They're realizing that the only thing that's going to survive with this chaos that's going to hit the country very soon, when the big collapse happens, is going to be community and helping each other locally. And people are very aware of it. But I was just shocked, Jeff, that they didn't. I sent them all to your site. I said, you want to see a good compilation on a daily basis of what's going on in the radiation field. I mean, they had no idea. They thought, oh, yeah, the starfish are dying. They had no idea there's like 4 species left on their whole coastline instead of hundreds,
thousands. They're finding plutonium floating in the ocean now, for God's sakes. Tiny particulates, of course, but it's there. When that MOX fuel blew it up. It was a nuclear explosion. Polluted the whole northern Pacific, and it's flowing out of control. TEPCO doesn't even have a plan anymore. Their little ice wall fairy tale never worked. They've got no plan. Plutonium floating all over the North Pacific. Good luck.
Go, yeah. And what's her name? Said, well, a little radiation is good for you. I mean, remember the scenario when we were kids growing up, the worst case scenario was a core melting into the earth through the bottom of a reactor.
Well, that was the China syndrome. That was the movie with, who was in it? Jack Lemmon?
Faye Dunaway or something like that.
I don't remember.
That kind of that genre. But, it's happened 3 times and people aren't even aware of it. They don't realize how much radioactive water is getting pumped into the Pacific. There is a total blackout, but it's encased in this surreal veneer here. Like you go to the park and there's, don't smoke in the public because, think of the children, voluntary smoking ban, and don't smoke here and don't smoke there. And you look up, and the jets are creaming the sky with chemtrails. And so you've got this. That's just an illustration of the hypocrisy. Like this is a solar powered trash compactor, and this is a solar powered heater for the bathroom.
Right.
And we're also environmentally conscious, while up above you, they're murdering you. It's the same thing. This Paris incident. Oh, look how bad they are. And, they wanted to have free speech, and we want you to have free speech too. Therefore, we're going to shut down all the alternative websites because they're helping, terrorism.
Well, let me be first to tell our listeners the obvious. There are a lot of writers and cartoonists who are not going to be publishing what they otherwise would now. They don't want any trouble.
Yeah.
People, their reflex is to protect. So they're going to pull in, they're going to protect. Jane Fonda, Jack Lemmon, Michael Douglas.
There you go.
China Syndrome, 1979.
Wow. But there's a lot of stuff back then that foretold a lot. But what you just said just triggered something, and I lost it.
Orca, you can tell the kids up there that there has not been a baby orca since 3/11 that has survived more than 1 year. They're all dying because of the bioaccumulation in the food. They're top of the food chain. They will be extinct. They're not singing anymore. This comes from Dana Durnford, who's up there off the British Columbia coast, professional diver for decades. He said they don't sing anymore. Even the orca scientists who study and follow them say they're sickly, emaciated, run down. They're dying. They're going to be gone.
Yeah, I told them that. I thought it was 7 months. They don't live past 7 months.
Whatever it is less than a year.
Whatever it is. It's horrific. It's just horrific. I mean, the Pacific's dead. I told them the story of the man who traverses the Pacific all the time, and he saw one bird and one fish on his last trip. But it sounds so surreal. Oh, really? Well, that's just one person. They don't say that, but you can hear the mind trying to justify that.
They can't.
Drastic.
They really can't. It is drastic. That's a good word. It's too drastic, and they honestly can't and won't. Their mind just kind of spits it back out. They just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And the government knows that. How many news conferences, I keep asking this, has the EPA held since Fukushima? Zero. None. There won't be any. Don't ask, don't tell, don't talk. It's not there. It's the biggest story of our lifetime, and no one talks about it.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
And the people in Seattle, in the first 2 to 3 weeks after the explosions, they were all breathing up on average of 6 hot fuel particles a day.
Wow.
Each fuel particle of which, of course, probably stayed within them and will lead to cancers.
Yeah. I was explaining to them also that radiation sickness does not just show up as cancer. Like, you don't expect to see people's thyroids blow up and it's going to be obvious that something's wrong.
Correct.
It exacerbates everything. Heart attacks, diabetes. I mean, everything in your body is going to get worse and worse.
Well, it stomps on your immune system, and all manner of disease can take root and grow without any boundaries.